One, go.
I want to explain deadweight loss in a market. Deadweight loss is kind of this theoretical idea of a loss of surplus. Basically, it indicates that a market is not functioning correctly as a market should function. So here we have supply, we have demand, we're at equilibrium at P1, Q1, which means everybody's happy. Nobody's mad in this marketplace. Anybody who wants to buy the product at P1 can buy it. Anyone who wants to sell it can sell it. These people down here, these people up here, they're doing other things. They have high opportunity costs and they have substitutes, or they're happy. They're not upset that they're priced out here. So everybody in this market along this demand curve is willing and able at P1 to buy, and this is their willingness, the blue line, which means this is their consumer surplus. It's their willingness minus the price. All of these suppliers who are producing the good, you take price, you subtract their willingness, and this is their producer surplus. With this current supply and demand curve, there is no other price that gives you more consumer surplus than P1, where equilibrium is. So this market is functioning correctly. We've maximized total surplus. Well, let's say the government decides to have a normative policy. Maybe people who have been living in downtown Manhattan for 80 years shouldn't be priced out of their apartments. So they put in, this is the rent control example, and they put in a binding ceiling. Upside down house, binding ceiling goes below. And with our binding ceiling, you cannot, remember, ceiling you can't go above, you cannot go above this price. So at this price ceiling, here is my quantity supplied, here's my quantity demanded. This is a shortage, but regardless of quantity demanded being greater than quantity supplied, if this is all that I have to sell, this is going to be my total quantity consumed with the ceiling. This is going to be the quantity in the market. And I think it's easier to kind of draw this all the way up. This is, we can call this a quantity wall. We're using houses, ceilings, floors. Why not put a wall in here? So we have a quantity wall, which means all of these producers who were willing to produce at the equilibrium price, they're not getting enough money to produce. The opportunity cost of producing here is too high. They're making other things. They're doing other things. So they're totally priced out, which means all these consumers who were willing to buy it before, there's not enough product for them to buy. Even though they're willing to buy it at the ceiling price, there's no quantity supply for them. So all of this surplus, this used to be producer surplus, this used to be consumer surplus, this is all gone from the market. This is dead weight loss. This is a loss of surplus, in this case due to a binding ceiling. But it means the market is not functioning as a market. Now, you can't really see this in the world. You can't go and see the loss of consumer surplus outside a restaurant, outside a store. It's a theoretical idea. But what you can see is the difference between Q1 and quantity ceiling. This loss of transaction. So we can say, I'm going to tie this in the case study of rent control, there are fewer people, all things being equal, minus the binding ceiling, renting apartments in downtown Manhattan after the ceiling than before. There are fewer transactions being made. So that's transactions being lost from the economy. That's surplus being lost from the economy. So deadweight loss is the loss of surplus, but really it's about the lack of transactions. And anytime deadweight loss is present, that means the market is not functioning correctly, that there's something inefficient. So deadweight loss is inefficient.